Between 1999 and 2016, the average male testosterone has dropped by 25%. And there are some estimates between 1980 and today, average male testosterone has dropped by nearly 50%. The modern man suffers from a lack of testosterone that turns him to a weak, feminine shell of himself. Having low testosterone means lower muscle mass, lower drive to achieve, and just generally being a loser. If you work out, if you have a business, if you want to feel better, you need to start optimizing your testosterone levels. And I'm going to give you every tip you need to easily double your testosterone. Let's go. I don't want to parrot the same thing you've heard from 1,000 other sources throughout this video because I take your testosterone levels just as seriously as mine. But before we get into the minute details, we have to cover the absolute basics that you heard everywhere else, but I'm going to tell you how to do them properly and how to get them right. Because if you haven't done the basics, there's no reason to watch a guide like this to show you the supplements you should be taking or the small things you should be doing because there are major problems that you need to fix first. Also, throughout this video, keep in mind that according to Andrew Huberman, anything that increases sperm count and quality often increases testosterone, and anything that decreases sperm count and quality often decreases testosterone. That'll be important later. Now, the first point, the most important point. You need to get enough good sleep, not just 8 hours. You need to be laying in bed for at least 9 hours. You need to have 9 hours set out to sleep because between laying in bed awake at night, the time that you're awake during your sleep, and probably having poor sleep quality, anybody that goes to bed at 10 p.m. and wakes up at 6 a.m. often only gets 7 hours of sleep maximum. And 7 hours of sleep is simply not enough for proper brain function, testosterone levels, and overall health. Besides getting 9 hours of sleep, you also have to work on your sleep quality. Just because you're getting 9 hours of sleep doesn't mean that the 9 hours of sleep means anything if it's not good sleep. So, no bright lights before bed, no sugar before bed, don't eat too much too close to bed, no alcohol at all. Remember to also limit your total caffeine intake throughout the day, and remember to limit your caffeine intake to before 2 or 3 p.m. because it has a half-life of 6 hours, meaning that if you drink a cup of coffee at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, by the time you go to bed, you still have half of that coffee in your system or more. But most importantly, you need to make sure that you go to bed and wake up at the same time every day, even on weekends. This will prime your body and actually make your sleep quality way better, as your body will be used to waking up and going to bed at the same time. If you not only want to increase your testosterone, but fix most of your problems in your life, such as your mental health and your well-being, do this. Follow this protocol. You will not regret it. Sleep is the foundation of health and happiness. Obviously, it goes without saying, to optimize testosterone, you should be working out regularly. If you aren't, again, focusing on the minute details about your testosterone will not help if you're not doing the basics. Working out is another foundational aspect of health and well-being, including your hormones. You should be especially focusing on heavy compound movements like squats because these have been shown to increase human growth hormone and testosterone. You should also be training hard, not just for your muscles and for your body, but because this in itself increases testosterone. For the last of the foundational aspects, you should be maintaining a healthy weight. Being underweight or being overweight is a huge drain on your testosterone. Underweight men often don't have the components to form testosterone in its necessary amounts. You also don't have a large amount of muscle mass, which promotes testosterone. If you're underweight and can't seem to gain weight, I have a video on my channel for that you might want to check out. As for overweight men, losing weight is your highest priority. This is because fat mass itself produces estrogen. This is another area that is extremely important to master before you get into the tiny details. But also remember that any kind of calorie deficit, whether that means because you're skinny and you can't put on weight, or you're fat and you're trying to lose weight, calorie deficits in general crush your testosterone levels. So just keep that in mind. Before we get to the fun stuff, make sure to like and subscribe. Now, for all of you that have mastered those, there's something that you should avoid: phytoestrogens. Phytoestrogens are plant estrogens that mimic estrogen in the body and wreak havoc on your endocrine system. The most obvious one that has been memed the most and you've been warned about is soy. Obviously, you should be limiting your soy intake to minimum. But in doing research for this video, I found plenty of foods that are so rich in phytoestrogens that they are recommended to women with menopause that I've never heard anyone talk about. Flaxseed is often touted as a health supplement for the heart, but make no mistake, it's full of phytoestrogens. Strawberries and berries in general are packed with resveratrol, a plant estrogen that, in a study, was shown to bind directly to estrogen receptors in the body. Another study found that instant coffee was ranked as the drink with the highest amount of phytoestrogens in it. Peanuts, sunflower seeds, Brussels sprouts, zucchini, and pumpkin were all reported as high in phytoestrogens too. All of these foods should mostly be avoided, but a little bit of them here and there isn't going to do anything to you. Just remember that soy isn't the only thing that's going to impact your estrogen levels from food. Avoiding plastics is a major part of being healthy in the 21st century. It's all around us, in our food containers, packaging materials, utensils, plates, and other things, and you have to start cutting it out of your diet. Plastics are well-known endocrine disruptors and carcinogens that wreak havoc on your endocrine system and can possibly do things like cause you cancer. You need to stop drinking from plastic water bottles in favor of glass or metal counterparts. Stop eating off plastic plates. If you meal prep, stop using those reusable plastic containers that you get from Walmart that you're constantly heating up, introducing even more microplastics into your food. Even styrofoam isn't safe, as it contains the deadly chemical styrene that can leach out into your food. Even your clothes are full of plastics if they're made or made with polyester. This gets even worse if you have gym clothes that are branded as dry fit, meaning 100% synthetic. And when you get hot and sweaty, you absorb these chemicals much more readily into your body. And don't tell me the thing that you are wearing every day around your balls that produces testosterone isn't 100% cotton. If you don't have 100% cotton underwear, you need to go to the store as soon as possible and get it. It's dirt cheap, and you'll stop directly poisoning your testicles. Next is something big, because you've been slowly poisoned by it throughout your entire life. Unfiltered tap water should be avoided at all costs. It, again, has microplastics in it. Fluoride, which has been shown to decrease testosterone, is added in by the government at processing plants. It is also full of synthetic and real estrogens. This comes from the majority of women being on birth control, which is hormone therapy by the way, industrial runoffs from pesticides, farms and fertilizers, and just other general contaminants. You should be filtering the water that comes into your home. Something like a Brita filter is okay if you're just starting out, but not only is the body of it plastic, which we want to overall avoid, if you don't properly and consistently change the filters, it's not going to make any difference. Also, you've got to stop watching porn. I'm sure everybody's heard about the study that shows an incredible increase in testosterone after 7 days of abstinence, but we're not talking about that because that is a short-term, slow modification on the testosterone that goes away after a very short amount of time. Instead, we're talking about the long-term implications of quitting porn. Over the long term, you can expect so many benefits to your health and quality of life, but you're also going to actually reclaim your masculine drive to go out, find, and talk to women. This almost always translates to greater performance in areas of your life, especially the gym and your work. If you don't believe me or think that I'm just making things up, you should try it yourself because I promise you won't regret it. And if you're making up excuses as to why this point isn't valid, you're an addict. You can also make the argument that by quitting porn and becoming overall happier, your stress hormones go down, leading to greater testosterone levels. Now before the final, most anticipated section of the video, we're going to talk about something that you might think is sort of crazy. Take your phone out of your pocket. Seriously, don't ever put your phone in your pocket or near your testicles, and that goes for other wireless devices like laptops, handheld game consoles, or anything else. They emit electromagnetic frequencies and other radio waves that damage sperm quality and health. If you don't believe me, again, this comes from neuroscientist Andrew Huberman, and I have his video on the topic linked in the description. It's not crazy, I promise. You should try it. You will not regret it. Now, everyone's favorite category, supplements. Supplementation is key for optimizing your testosterone levels because any deficiency in your blood will create lower testosterone levels. I highly recommend that you go to the doctor or from some other reputable source and get a good blood test done on your vitamin levels. This will show you better ways to treat yourself more directly without overspending or overusing certain vitamins or minerals. But for those of you that can't afford that or don't want to go do that, I will have a general list recommended later in the video. Now, the first supplement that you should be taking, and everybody should be taking every day, is vitamin D. A study found that vitamin D supplementation showed a 50-point increase in testosterone levels. Plus, you're most likely deficient or low in vitamin D anyways, and vitamin D supplements are dirt cheap, and you can get them at Walmart, so there is no excuse to not be taking vitamin D supplements as soon as possible. Another supplement you should be taking is zinc. Zinc is one of the most important minerals when it comes to the synthesis of testosterone. Thus, if you don't have enough of it, your entire reproductive system will suffer. A meta-study, a study of other studies, found that zinc deficiency lowers testosterone, and zinc supplementation over the long term increases it. You should also be taking magnesium. Another study found that after testing athletic and sedentary subjects, the overall free and total testosterone had increased, and that was before and post workout. Now comes the herbs that most people talk about. I'm not gonna lie, I stopped regularly taking most of these, but after doing research for this video, there is one that specifically that I'm gonna add back in, and there's another that I'm going to take when I need it. They are as follows: Tonat Ali, aka Long Jack, Fogia Grus, and finally the most popular, Ashwaganda. First, we're going to talk about Tonat Ali. Now, in doing research for this, I came across various studies that purported its benefits and showed an overall increase in testosterone levels. One study found that it increased sperm volume and motility in comparison with a placebo, especially in groups that started out lower in these categories. And remember from earlier in the video, anything that increases sperm motility or health overall will increase testosterone levels. Another study found that Tonat Ali decreased stress hormones and gave a whopping 37% boost in testosterone to its subjects. Now, this herb is an adaptogen much like the famed Ashwaganda, and it has been shown to decrease stress hormones, although how it works and its method of action isn't entirely known, as there isn't a lot of data on this from what I could find. Although, overall, I think taking this herb daily would be a good idea for anybody, especially those with low testosterone or who are basically infertile. Next on the list is Fogia Grus. I learned about this herb from Andrew Huberman, as he touts it as something that increases testicular size. Now, while the studies are few and far between on this particular herb, it overall still shows promise in increasing testosterone levels. I would just again be careful, because one study indicated that in male rats there was an increase in testicular size, but there were adverse effects made on the reproductive system, stating that at higher levels this herb could possibly be toxic. While it seems promising, and I think it's still worth trying despite that one bad study, if you notice any side effects or you don't notice any blatant good effects, I think you should stop taking it. Lastly, Ashwaganda. This herb has been talked about constantly for its benefits on sleep, testosterone levels, and overall quality of life. And if you're taking it, you're probably taking it wrong. You see, Ashwaganda works by decreasing the levels of stress hormones in the human body. When stress levels, i.e. cortisol, goes up, testosterone comes down, and vice versa. Thus, managing stress is a must for high levels of testosterone. The only problem is, when you take ashwagandha every day, these effects are mitigated by your body trying to achieve homeostasis. Thus, you won't see the same benefits for very long. Also, it affects GABA receptors in your brain, which is a neurotransmitter that affects mood, sleep, anxiety, and other things in your body, and it is unclear whether long-term use of this herb changes the sensitivity of these receptors. Now, onto the studies. One study found a much higher concentration of salivatory testosterone levels, up to 15%, over a few week period of administering ashwagandha compared to a placebo group. Another study found an overall decrease in stress hormone levels, as well as a boost to testosterone in male participants, something not shared by the female participants, but was not declared to be statistically significant. A giant meta-study done on the effect of herbs on hormones found that in 3 out of 4 studies, ashwagandha raised testosterone in its participants. In one study, it didn't change it at all. Now, as for taking ashwagandha, while you can do it daily, I think the way to get the most benefit with the least amount of possibility for side effects is to take ashwagandha when you're stressed out. It lowers cortisol and stress hormones across the board, so if you're having a bad day, or a bad week for that matter, chill out and take some ashwagandha. Now for the finale, the supplementation protocol to optimize testosterone levels. I will have all the brands and the dosages I recommend in the description linked. Every day, you should be taking 1,000 IUs of vitamin D3. This is well within the safe upper limit of 4,000 IUs, and should boost anybody who is deficient or low into the normal range, without affecting people who are already normal and pushing them into toxicity levels. I take 2,000 IUs per day, but only on doctor's recommendation, and I encourage you to do the same. 50 milligrams of zinc gluconate. This only converts to 7 milligrams of real zinc because of how bioavailability works. But again, this low dosage ensures that it won't hurt or adversely affect anybody, while at the same time bumping anybody who is truly deficient in the area up into the normal category. 250 milligrams of magnesium oxide. Make sure it's oxide because other types of magnesium are powerful laxatives. Just saying. But 250 milligrams is the sweet spot because the upper limit for supplementary magnesium is regarded as 350 milligrams just because of how the body absorbs supplements as compared to magnesium from foods. Lastly, 400 milligrams of Tonat Ali. Of course, 500 milligrams will work just fine if you have a preferred brand or you can find it for a better price, but the one I have linked in the description from a brand that I trust is 400 milligrams. After examining the studies, I found that this herb is probably the most promising for taking every day, as it showed the most promise for increasing testosterone with the least amount of side effects. Lastly, again, I don't recommend taking this every day, but you should keep on hand some ashwagandha. In the description, have linked 470 milligram capsules, but 500 milligrams, again, works just fine. Again, if you're ever feeling stressed or having a bad day, you should take this because it is a healthy way to actually decrease stress hormones without doing anything stupid like drinking alcohol or smoking. This was a massive video that saw me pull out every single stop and read countless studies to try to find every tip I could for optimizing testosterone levels. If you got anything out of this video, please subscribe to the channel because I promise I will be making more videos like this in the future and you will support me in my journey. If you enjoyed this video, you might be interested in my last video, 5 muscles you aren't training. Thank you for watching.